Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Ice Snake for G.I. Joe. And as we start off, as usual, we're on yojo.com, which gives us a lot of nice pictures and all that to be able to kind of go off of here today. The Ice Snake was first released in the United States in 1993, and unfortunately, it was discontinued in 1994. For a note, the Ice Snake shares a number of parts with the Mudbuster, including the missiles, all of them, the missile launcher assembly, the roll cage, and the rear axle slash platform. These parts, for the most part, are interchangeable between both vehicles. The wheels of the Ice Snake are shared with the Mudbuster and the Hammer and are interchangeable among all three vehicles. So this is a high-speed Arctic attack vehicle with a jaw-snapping roll cage, which really doesn't give us a whole lot for combat sense, but it is a nice little feature for the kids and having fun with it in that regard. Now, moving on down, we have easily broken and or lost pieces. The missiles can easily be lost. Additionally, the Ice Snake came with a black rubber band and a thin black string. Given the age of the items and the tendency for the rubber to break down over the years, the likelihood of finding the original rubber band and or string is very slim. These can be replaced with virtually any generic rubber band and or string. So, having that being said, looking at all the wonderful pictures that we do have, although it's not as much as what we have had on some of the other ones, but still it's nice that we have this here on jojo.com. So this is the original box art that we had gotten under the Battle Core line. And this is an Arctic vehicle for Cobra. As they get pushed off into more remote areas to try and scheme and everything else, we have a nice rear view or a side view on the rear side of the box. If I can only come up with this and say it correctly. Now, reading through all this, because I had blown it up a little bit more on my screen through whatever means I could do, it sounded like I could get three figures in the cab, but you can only get two figures in the cab and then two figures on the rear bumper. And there's, I'm going to say, a little debate in my head on the missiles, because when it mentions the missiles, the front is supposed to be a holding spot for the missile launcher up on top, as we get to see all the different instructions for putting this together here. Now, in the box art, they show the missiles being launched out of the holder in the bottom front. So I will leave that in there as a missile launcher there. And then what we have here is we have a grappler missile that we have on top. So that's going to be a different setup here. So really, we only have the two missiles plus the grappler missile up on top, and that's the way I've got this kind of set up here. Um, Low profile front storage for two missiles is what's being listed on that front. But like I said, the box art shows them launching the missiles out of there. So I'll keep it as that's firing one type of missile, and then we have our grappler missile. It kind of makes a little bit more sense in my little mind doing it that way than any other kind of way of doing it. So um, there's no other variations of the ice snake that are known to exist. And let's see, a original retail price is not being listed here. So taking a wild guess, I'm going to say it's probably $15 to maybe $20 at this point, as things start going up in prices and just kind of going from there. So let's get on over to our D6 stats and see what we have. All right, so having the ice snake at speed or scale, I've got this roughly about 20 feet long, so like a standard small truck. A crew of two, passengers of two. So I figure you have one driver, one gunner. We do have cargo capacity of about 100 kilograms. Full coverage here. Maneuverability is going to be a 2D plus one, so not the most maneuverable. I'm thinking that if we're pushing this with standard wheels in the back, sometimes it might run into some problems. But I'm going to guess that we're going to be able to get up to maybe about 60 miles an hour, somewhere where a lot of snowmobiles and all that are going to be able to get up to. I think our stopping is going to be a little bit of an issue. Where with a standard snowmobile, we have that track that can have a little bit more um, surface area on the snow, where the tires probably not as much. So just kind of keeping it there. All right, body strength. I've got this down to about a 2D. I think this is going to be a great infiltration vehicle, especially with a grappling hook or the grapple missile. Oops, one of the things I didn't take off here. As you can see, because I always just grab from some other um, vehicle, and then I just start going through stats and start saying this has to be on there, but then this doesn't, and we just kind of make it the vehicle of the day. So, because we don't have any extra blaster cannons or anything else, it's just the missile grappler front. Well, actually, that's going to be on a turret, so I didn't change that correctly. I'm thinking front, but it's actually a turret, so it's turret mounted. Speeder scale, fire control is going to be a 2D plus 2. Um, Boy, I really wasn't thinking this through. 2D. Now, one of the things I did add in here is I changed the range from our standard missile. Now, the reason why I did that is um, shooting this out to grapple, that's going to be a little bit different than a long range missile. Uh, so I wanted to limit that down. So we do have from 100 for short range, 300 for medium range, 600 meters, which is fairly long range here for grappling lines and all that. But still, sitting there saying this missile is only meant to go out maybe 600 meters, you know, punch through, get a good grapple line. Now, whether you want to use this vehicle itself as something to try and hold something back, or to have that grapple line so that way we can get troops into an area. Maybe there's some sort of fortress or something like that up in the Arctic that they need to get into, and they can use that in order to repel into that, climb the line and repel into the installation. So for damage, I have a 3D plus the grapple line. So yes, we're going to hit in there. It's not meant to destroy things. It's meant to get stuck onto it and then be there. And then we also have our two front missiles. Let's see. That gives us... actually, I don't think I really want these at Starfighter scale, so I wasn't thinking that through. We're going to go with Walker. Walker scale. Fire controls 4D. We can consider them as a guided missile, so that would work. So our range is 800 meters for short range, 2 kilometers for medium, and 5 kilometers for long range, and a damage up to 7D. Pretty lethal weapons here, trying to keep, if we got to blow something up or whatever, or really kind of defend ourselves. But the problem is we only have 2 missiles. This is more of an infiltration, but something with some significant bite here. And with that, that really kind of rounds off our vehicle here today. It's not a bad little vehicle. It's just one of those things. It's going to be a little bit of a niche vehicle, giving Cobra hopefully a little bit of an edge to sneak in, cause the chaos that they need to do, so they can hopefully overthrow the world in their normal crusades to try and dominate the world and take it over. So with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.